Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We are talking CBD today, and I'm sure you probably have heard those three letters, CBD, and how beneficial it is to your health, can make you feel a lot better physically and emotionally. But what makes things different today is we're talking about hemp grown hydroponically. Hemp, of course, connected to CBD. We'll get with that. The man that knows everything about that is Jake Jeske, and he's with us. He's with the Purple Nugget. And welcome back to the show, Jacob. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing just great, Steve. Glad to have you back here. Glad to see your smiling face.
Yeah, you too. Did you have CBD today?
I do have CBD today. Today I woke up and I had a little bit of oil, so I feel great.
Cool. So I'm always curious. I like to get in somebody's head like yours that, you know, is very, your world revolves around CBD. Why do you take it first thing in the morning, and how does it make you feel?
Sometimes just for like anxiety. I mean, just even doing podcasts with you a little bit can always kind of amp you up a little bit for the day. So it's kind of some kind of, allows you to have that little bit extra 5 seconds to kind of think about what you're going to say, how you're going to kind of react a little bit. Anxiety really kind of comes and flows for people, and it affects them in different ways. But what I kind of see that's across the board is that they get these little triggers, and all of a sudden they kind of like freeze, like a little bit of a deer in headlights a little bit. This kind of helps with anxiety smooth out a little bit, so less of those anxiety moments.
Sure. I have this is not planned, but I am going to jump into a text here and see if I can find it from my friend who just sent this the other day. And she said, okay, I'm going to read this. She goes, so you know how I was saying that those CBD gummies weren't doing anything for me? I think I was wrong. Since I've been off them, I've been feeling more fatigued and more achy. I guess I didn't realize how much they were actually helping. So I'm going to try more. And then I suggested maybe not gummies, might want to try something like a tincture or something that, and this is somebody who was taking CBD before you and I even met, Jacob. And I know that you don't sell gummies, and we went over that because the sugar content, you opened my eyes to that, man. The amount of sugar that's in them, like, I don't know. I don't think I need that. Maybe not my friend, but she might be a better candidate for maybe a tincture or something else, that you sell. What do you got there?
I got the capsules. So this kind of same conversation happened with me with a friend named Todd. And hi, Todd, I know you listen. He called me up and he takes my capsules. And he's got a really bad, he's around 65 years old, maybe a little bit older. So he's just got those, old man aches and pains. And he takes my capsules, and he really does seem to like them. And he actually talked to me about the same thing. He's like, hey, should I be doubling up a little bit? Is there like a maximum that I should be taking or whatnot? And I told him that, if you're taking 1 to 2 a day, I'd kind of leave it at that, because that's just the level of it. And then about a month later, he called me up and he's like, hey, I stopped taking those capsules, and I gotta tell you, he's like, I thought they weren't like doing anything to me, but as soon as I stopped taking them, like a week later, my sleep pattern started getting all regimentally messed up. And I was like, all my aches and pains started slowly coming back, and it's like, it's not that it took all the pain away from my body. He's like, but definitely I saw a huge notice once I stopped taking it. So it's important to keep taking it, find something that works, stay on that pattern, and you'll see the results for sure.
Yep. And I'm just there with you, because I was taking them for sleep, to stay asleep. I can fall asleep, but normally don't stay asleep. And I would take them like every third day. It's like, I'm feeling a little more tired. Let me see if I can use this, kind of kick things in a little bit. And then somebody told me, duh, you need to continually take them. And we're not saying that because we want you to buy more at a selling point. That's what works. You have to continually take them. That's the way it is.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. So today, because you're very different with the Purple Nugget, by the way, your website, if anybody wants to check it out while we're talking about it, is the PNUG, as in purple, the P, letter P, nug.com. You hydroponically grow everything, but we're going to look at it from a different view today. We're going to look at the plants, the seed, the soil, how you do everything in a different way.
We're gonna get people started. Even growing hydroponically, it always starts with a seed or a clone. And today we're gonna start with the seed. What I got here is some feminized cherry seeds that we're gonna plant today. I got over 100 of these already going. I just thought it'd be a really nice idea to show you how the soil gets placed, that you know, how hard you pack the soil, what the water is like when you water it, and just overall just go over the general idea of planting a seed. We're gonna jump right into it, Steve. I got some soil ready for you already pre-mixed. What I do is actually about a 30 perlite, about a 20% vermiculite, and then just some soil, and it comes out a little bit like this.
Yeah, like
So,
everybody else. Everybody else.
yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but
Oh. So what you want to do with the soil, let me start over, is you got to worry about the water moisture, the way it holds it like a sponge. The seed has to pretty much be soaking throughout the time of germination to really get the proper nutrients that it needs to really sprout. And so what we're kind of worried about is that we don't want that water to sit on top and then just sink to the bottom when the seed's like right here. We want that soil to hold all that water around the seed. So we add vermiculite, which acts like a natural sponge that holds the water.
so
So I got a little bit of,
can I jump in here, Jacob, and say, is that sort of like peat moss?
yep, you can use peat moss. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. There's peat moss, there's cocoa coir. I used pure cocoa coir for all my hydroponic grows just because of how clean the cocoa coir is. It doesn't mess with any nutrients that drains through into the water system.
Sure.
So that really does help it out. But these are actually going to go in the soil. I do everything hydroponically. This is a kind of a new, different year. I got a good neighbor that got some land for me, so we're actually growing out in the sun this year.
Wow.
There's the out year grow, and this is for other companies that are looking for CBD. I know CBD. We're using CBD right now to replace insulation that's in your house instead of using the old glass fiberglass method. They're actually replacing that with just hemp and CBD, which not only lasts longer, it improves efficiency, and obviously it's just better off for the earth. So we're gonna try to go that route to different companies this year, but right now I just want to show you how to plant the seed.
Sure.
So
I want to ask you just one other question before you jump in. So you're planting the seed in soil, but normally when you hydroponically grow, it's in some other matter, correct?
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're technically, are you hydroponically growing it in this fashion when you're putting it in soil?
So hydroponically, not, you can kind of hold that word hydroponically. If you're adding the nutrients and the water yourself, if the soil is in, like, let's say a 5-gallon pot, and all that soil is just like soil you made that we call a super soil or somewhat, and you're adding the nutrients and you're adding the water, you can still hold hydroponical claims to that because you're adding the nutrients and the water to the plant. You're not letting Mother Earth and Mother Nature take the full girth of the growth process by, you know, the sunlight and the soil just doing it.
Right.
So this would not, I'm not going to say this ain't the way I do it. I mean, when I'm saying hydroponically, it's in my 5-gallon buckets, recirculating water, and I have complete control over everything. I think this is just going to be a real fun, easy way to kind of just see if the purple nugget can kind of venture into these other companies. I mean, I grow it so well. Obviously, what these companies are going to be doing with this project isn't going to be extracting it for its CBD qualities. They're actually going to be using the hemp for the fibers because obviously there's so much more, you know, use of the hemp product than just the flower. I mean, we used to grow hemp back, I think, way before the 1900s. I'm just picking this time frame out of a hat, but you know, it was used for naval ropes. It was used for everything. I mean, hemp has so many properties that can be used beyond just the flower that, you know, it's just a remarkable plant. So,
And as a kid, that's what I remember. I remember hemp being rope. It was rope.
I was in the Navy. I know I've told you that before, but my dad is, we have a long line of military in my family, all the way back to the Revolutionary War. It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
I love sitting around my grandparents and listening to them talk. But you tell me stories about these sailors. They would try to smoke hemp rope. They would try to shave off rope and they would try to smoke it. And I'm like, no, he's like, I didn't. He's like, I never tried it. He's like, I'll laugh at him, just like you're laughing at him now. He's like, and they would just get headaches or whatever. But anyway, that's old sailor talk. Let's get into the seed and planting, shall we?
Sure, let's go.
All right. So first, I got a little tray here, and what we're pretty much going to do is just put the soil, as you'd imagine, inside these trays. First off, I guess you don't really got to worry too much. You're going to make a mess. It's just going to kind of happen a little bit. Do the best you can. typically I even wear gloves with this. Your fingerprints and your hands have oils in it that really can disturb the germination process.
Wow.
When it comes to the seeds, I usually use throw gloves on. I should have a pair next to me here.
Well, even just saying that, Jacob, about the oils from your hands having an impact, it says a lot in terms of the quality of what's being grown, how it's being grown, and how particular, the seeds are, and how you have to be in terms of getting, a great growth and product.
I got a great compliment. I was at the farmers market last week, and Jesse came to me and he's like, Jake, he's like, I've been using your product for the past couple of years. It's really been helping me out. He's like, I've tried using other products and they keep asking me why I don't, change to their product. Why do I stick with you? He's like, I know the grower. He's like, it's not that hard to make lotion. He's like, in fact, he's like, I looked it up. He's like, what is it? 7 ingredients in a good blender. He's like, I mean, making a lotion from home isn't why I use you. It's the way it's grown. It's that 1 gram of CBD that you put in there that I know is just better than any other gram that's going to put in there.
Yeah.
It's really about the growing. That's why I want to focus on it. I mean, that's where my passion's at. That's what I love doing. That's what I know about. That's what I can talk about. And yeah, it all starts with the seed.
And that's it. I was just going to say, that's where it all starts right there.
Absolutely. We're going to use a little bit of precaution. I use little tweezers here. And we're going to get a little technical. When it comes to a seed, there's one part of it that's called the crown. And you want to plant it crown down. I'm going to try to get you. Let's see. Oh, man.
Yeah, we got some. It's starting. Your camera's focusing on that kind of clear.
What I'm trying to get to you is that when you look at the seed, you're going to kind of see that it points. It's going to have a rounded part, and then it's going to kind of point up. That little, like, teardrop shape.
Mm-hmm.
You want the point of that teardrop to go down. So it's crown down. And the reason why you want to do that is because when the seed gets planted down, if it's crown down, and I guess if I could go like this, it's going to open up like this. The taproot's going to go down. That's just going to help the taproot have the direction that it needs to go. Because if it's upside down or any other way, that seed has to somehow maneuver, turn upside up, plant the taproot down so that the coleop's life goes up. And so by planting it crown down, it just really helps the process just kind of go faster and smoother. I've seen seeds come up twisted, and it's just like all that stress and all that unnecessary stress of the seed. Just, I'm sorry to use the word so many times, but it's just unnecessary. So you don't have to do it.
No,
so,
I find this fascinating, and you're talking to somebody who loves planting things, somebody who's not always successful in even planting grass. So now I see there's a lot more science behind it when you're trying to plant anything.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So what we're going to do is put these seeds in here. Like I said, crown down. And you're talking to me about my plants earlier at one point. You said, how many plants do you have in your house? And I should probably introduce you to Sir Curtis von Cactus. He's a cactus that I've had in the family since I was probably 12 years old. Even when I was in the military, I gave him to my mother. My mother watered them for me. So he's a pretty old cactus.
Wow.
And then, we also have a jade plant that came from my great grandmother that we still have planted in the same house. So, well, horticulture really does extend to my family beyond just me. I went and saw my grandma last weekend, and she's just telling me about all her little secrets and what she does to get her little rosebuds and carrots to come up. And I really realized that that's where it came from for me. Is probably my grandma, and like just growing up and planting stuff with her. It's just something about it that's just so peaceful and rewarding. Like when you get the seed to come up and you just know that all your efforts really getting put into it. I know it's just something about it. Not everybody gets that, but I really do.
Oh, listen, man, I'm on your page, Jake.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I just moved this weekend from a house to, I downsized. And while, I don't miss cutting the lawn every week, although it's kind of my therapy, but I miss planting things. And, to your point, even saving bulbs from the year before, like in the fall, I would put them in a plastic bag, keep them in the garage, pop them in the ground in the spring, and just to see them sprout is almost, it's like I'm going to say it, it's like a high in itself, knowing that I did it, it came back, it's going to look great. It's going to, this elephant ear is going to look fantastic. There's something to be said when it's like your babies.
It really is. I love it. My 2-year-old right now, as I was telling you earlier about that jade plants, he's only 2 years old. I know he doesn't know anything, but he pulls the little bulbs off my jade plants, and I always gotta like get on him. Hey, don't do that. But he's just a kid.
Yep.
Here I'm looking at it. The thing is growing bigger and better than it was before because he's training the plants by pulling off the bulbs like closer to the soils, allowing the plant to grow up higher and bigger.
Sure.
I should bring the thing down here. It's probably one of the best looking years I think it's gonna have. So I
Wow.
think he's going to be a little horticulture too. So it's pretty fun.
That's awesome. And by the way, I just wanted to share what you just mentioned. I think it was my grandmother that inspired me because she forever was outside in the garden, picking things off, doing this, doing that. And I think it just, it rubbed off on me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of nice to see the things that your grandparents kind of rub off on you. You kind of get to that age and you look back a little bit and it's like, that's where I got that from a little bit.
Yeah.
But to get into it a little bit, another important thing to know is your water pH. Not all water is the same. When you're pulling like tap water, well water, beach water, everything has got a different pH in it, different nutrients in it. What this is a pH meter. So what we're going to do, it's a digital one. You can get this in a few different ways. I find this to be the fast and easiest because all I got to do is dip it in my water here. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. I'll let you know what it comes down to. What we're looking for is pretty much a 5.8 to 6.5 pH. And luckily for me, I have excellent well water. That's what it's going to come out as. I just want to show people that you should always check that. It's just if you can't test it, this is all out of your realm. Go get spring water from the gas station, a gallon of spring water, not purified water, not drinking water, spring water, and use that to start germinating your seeds, and you'll probably get great results just from that. But as you can see here, I'm at 6.2. So this water is nice and clean. And what you want to do is just kind of gently get that water going in the seeds. Slowly fill it up. Let it drain out. Don't get aggressive with it. You don't want to move the soil too much. Typically it's even a better idea to get your soil nice and wet and get that water all the way around it before you plant your seed. That way you're not really disturbing the seed after you placed it. But this should work out just fine. And I'm going to go ahead, speed up the time of life, and voila, look at that. We got polio already.
It was like time lapse.
Yeah, you didn't even see it. But no, of course, I went ahead 2 weeks, planted some seeds. Perfect germination doesn't always happen. So as you can see, we only got 3 out of the 4. But that's really good. As you can see, these are nice and green. They're already sprouting up, looking for that looking for that sunlight. They have really nice stems. You don't want to look for any red or purple. Early on, give you signs of stress. You don't want to see purple till the very end, actually. But anything that you just want to make sure it stays at slight green. You're gonna get your first caulis leaf here. And that's just going to be the first one that's going to try to say, hey, there's light here. How high do I need to grow up, or how low do I need to grow up to get that perfect par? Once it finds that, you're going to start seeing these jagged leaves come out right after that. And, you got yourself a nice little germinated seed there. So
wow. Somebody already jumped ahead. We got instant feedback.
Oh, right. Great.
By the way, we're talking with Jake Jeske. He is the grower and owner at the Purple Nugget. thepnug.com is where you can find him. Got a question. It's instantfeedbacksteve@gmail.com. This one is from Nick in Belfast, Maine. He says, how long does it take to grow a fully mature plant?
So that's going to be outside. We're going to say outside. It's going to take around 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
So you're going to have 2 stages. You can have your veg stage, and then you're going to have your flower stage. Just like we go back to that apple tree. It's not until you get to the fall that you're going to start seeing the flowers. For the whole flower, once you get to the flower stage, 3 months, usually 56 days is the magic number. After 56 days, the trichomes in that resin, it starts doing something kind of magical where you'll see it go from this clearness to a cloudiness to like an amber. The trichomes are like those sticky, shiny things that you see on the leaf that we were talking about earlier. And that's usually a 56-day process if you want to see the flower again that we use.
Yep. No, I can see it. Yeah.
So yeah, 56 days in flower. Typically, you can do a month in veg. If you're doing hydroponically, I usually do about a month in veg, 3 days in flower, and I have that in my set schedule. That's how I get my 4 to 5 parcels per year.
So, question on that: the difference between the soil and indoor hydroponically. true hydroponic, let's call it that if we could, the difference to get that mature plant in terms of time?
Oh, you still gonna need 56 days.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it doesn't change. You can't see the
Interesting.
process. You can get some that are called like auto flowers, and I don't work with them. It's just like somehow they genetically design it to like it doesn't even need to have like a different light schedule. They can just automatically pop up and start flowering. Those are called auto flowers. I don't think the potency is quite there with them. Maybe it is. I mean, they're doing amazing things these days, but I just stick with your feminized seeds, and I stick with clones. I don't even mess with seeds that much anymore. So
So what you just used, there were seeds that you planted. Where did they come from, and what kind were they?
those came from Cope Seeds. It's a business out of Colorado. A great group of guys, and they were feminized cherry. So that was a cherry CBD. And feminized, we'll get into this. It pretty much means that the seed has somehow not been introduced to any pollen during its whole life cycle, and so therefore it's almost guaranteed to be a female. And as we said previous podcasts, that the females are the ones that grow the flower that we need to extract the resin from. So that's why it's really important to have a female plant. By going feminized, you kind of almost because you won't tell that it's a female or a male plant until you're in flower stage. So you could waste like 2 to 3 months of your life trying to grow these plants, and all of a sudden you realize that you're just going to get seeds from it and not the flower. So then you got to start all over. So by choosing feminized seeds, it's like you obviously get a little more reward. The risk to reward is a little bit more on your side of things, I guess.
Wow. Why is it called cherry?
I think it's just the name that came up with it. I'll have to ask Andy about that, but it must have been just a strain that's been pulled off for years. They didn't create the strain. I know it probably came from somewhere in Colorado or something.
Can you harvest your own seeds?
Yes, so you can. I don't want any seeds. It's called a sensei style growing. So when you get the flower, there's no seeds in mine at all, and it's just because you never let that female plant get introduced to enough stress to make it want to try to reproduce. So and to extract your own feminized seeds, that's something we'll try to get into. There's a couple ways to do that. The good way to do it is that you grow complete female plants, and I can only say this hydroponically because that's the only way I do it. And what I do is once I harvest it, you get the stock left over, where it's obviously like the stock of the plant, and you keep it watered, you keep the light schedule going with it. You got to keep it alive, and you do keep it alive. And what that plant is doing is it's realizing that it has nothing really left to live for. You've harvested. It's just a stock. So what it's going to try to do, like in anything, is going to try to survive. And the only way a plant knows how to survive is to grow seeds. And so to start growing these seeds around a stalk that has no pollen around it, that has no other plant to inflate it. So these seeds don't get introduced to anything. And because it came from a full female plant, these seeds will cross over genetically and still be female.
Amazing. It just brought back a thought when we talk about seeds and they're not desirable. Even on the marijuana side, if somebody has true marijuana, don't want seeds in it. That's
because it takes energy. So as the plant's growing in this 56 days, a lot of things can happen. And that plant in this 56 days can be like, hey, I'm really stressing out. It's day 40. It's like 120 degrees in here. I'm not surviving. I'm just going to start growing seeds. Once the plant starts growing seeds, it's not going to grow flower. It's not going to focus on growing resin. The only point and focus of that plant is to make these seeds. It'll stop growing everything else.
Wow.
And in that 56 days, you just have a bunch of seeds. You don't even have the flower anymore. It just completely changed sex on you. So that's why it's really important to keep it hydroponically, because that's the way I can control that stress to make sure that after that 56 days, there's no seeds in it. And I mean, I've showed you the flower. I don't want to tear it apart, but I mean, it's just quality stuff.
Yeah, and those are big buds that you have in that jar.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, very impressive. Well, you know what? This all goes to show how critical the grow is to make sure that you get an optimum plant, which means you're going to get an optimum CBD product. And that's really what the end game is. So how long does it take from the point where you drop the seed to the point where, like, let's say on your shelf there, you have either a capsule, a tincture, whatever. What's that, Even adding the manufacturing process, I'm kind of curious what the time frame is.
Sure. So let's say a month in veg, 56 days in flour. So that's 4 months there. I cure it for about 3 weeks in a jar. Well, after I cut it down, it dries out for a week. We'll say 7 to 9 days. From there, it goes into a jar where I cure it. And so most people will take it straight from the plant and start processing the oil and put it in their products. I don't do that. The cure process of the flour is probably about 50 to 60% of your potency. You can lose your CBD or your THC or whatever you're growing at that time by not properly curing it. So by curing it in the jar for about 3 weeks, just to allow it to, what that does is the pretty much the moisture content in the flour. So as you can imagine, the flour is wet. It came off the plant and it's all wet. So you're drying it. It's going to dry from the outside in. It's going to dry from the outside in. Once you take it off of the drying rack and you put it in these jars, all that moisture in the center, which is still there, it's actually going to spread out to the rest of that flour and then it's going to stiffen up. And that's how you cure it. It's just like curing wood. I don't know if you ever know anything about oak or anything, like you can cure it. So you got to pretty much get that moisture content. I think like an 11 or a 10%. And that way you don't get any mold, you don't get anything trying to grow around the flour. So then after it's cured for about 3 weeks, then I'll finally process that. And that probably takes about a day. And then I can, after that, it's into an oil. And then from the oil, I decarb it. Sorry, I don't want you to keep going on it, but once I get it into an oil, then like you extract. 1 second, can I show you the oil real quick? It's right over here.
Yeah, we just literally have just about that much time.
Okay.
This is super cool. We're talking with Jake Jeske, and he is the grower and owner of the Purple Nugget. Very different because it's, as you can tell, hydroponically grown. The quality is there. The passion and love in the product is there, helping people feel better. You can find them at thepnug.com. So we're looking at oil now, which came from the plant. Wow.
Yeah. So this is actually the extracted oil from the plant that I pull out there. You can see it's just very thick, very molasses-like.
Wow.
So once you get it from here, at this point now you have to decarb it. And what you do there is you put it in like a little oven for about 20 to 30 minutes. At about 230 to 245, you'll start to see it bubbling up. And that's all like the decarbs coming out of it. And once you decarb it, now you activate that CBD. And once that's done, sorry. Once you decarb the CBD, it's like when like everything needs to be decarbed. Even like when you were to smoke CBD or if you're smoking a joint, as you're burning it, it's decarbing actually. When it gets that hot and you get like that cherry at the end of it, you're actually decarbing it before you smoke it. So that's why it's important to like decarb because it actually takes it from a non-active to an active CBD state. So by making it an active, then it's just not potency, it's the action rate, how fast it's going to react with your body.
So quick question with that jar of oil, and we're just at the point where we're out of time here today, but I'm curious, that jar, how many products or how much product can you make CBD product out of that?
I haven't weighed this out, but if I had to guess, it's probably about 30 to 40 grams in this right now. And like I said, 1 gram per product. So that would make about 40 of these.
Wow. Super cool.
I get about 100 grams per plant. So if you want to figure that out, I get about 100 grams of oil. I extract about 100 grams of oil per plant, which is pretty good.
You know what this says? And I'm glad we went over this today, Jake, the plants, the seeds, the soil, the pH, everything, because what this really says is this is so natural and so organic and has been used for centuries. So if you're dealing with whatever it might be, anxiety, some shoulder pain, whatever's going on with you, why would you want to walk into a pharmacy and grab a chemical off the shelf and put that in your body when you have the passion, the love, the naturalness of what you get from the Purple Nugget and CBD? It's like, for me, it's a no-brainer. It's just it's the way it should be and the way it always has been. And that's why these plants were put on our earth by whoever you want to say they, whether it was done by, someone or it was just done just because coincidence. This is how people have been healing for years. Jake, great talking with you. Thanks for all the info. Super cool. Like super cool seeing that how it's done.
Sure, absolutely. No, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. People are definitely turning themselves on more to the natural holistic side of things.
Yeah.
And people are seeing great benefits from it. So I
Yeah,
guess it's a good time to be a hemp grower, And it's
for
lucky
sure.
for me, I guess. But
Yeah. What you did was you peeled away the curtain. So now we can see what goes on behind the scenes. And I've never seen that. And I think a lot of our listeners and people watching today got a better look. Check it out, thepnug.com. And Jake, great talking with you today. And I'll look forward to getting together sometime soon.
can't wait. See you next week, Steve.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.